Greetings viewers, Aziz Draws here. Hold on, allow me to provide complimentary gaming content along with this drawing time lapse. Subway Surfers type beat. I have not played a single frame of the video game known as Overwatch, nor have I played its sequel. I have, however, consumed hours and hours of Marvel related content, so my interest peaked when I heard there was an alpha test for an upcoming Marvel game with the same genre. I applied for a chance to try the alpha test, and surprisingly enough, I got in. As expected, I wasn't great at the game, and it didn't help that I hadn't fully acclimated to using my keyboard and mouse since I recently moved over from controller. Despite my shortcomings, at the end of the day, I was kind of having fun on Marvel Rivals. A good number of my friends have already played Overwatch, so seeing them play helped me improve more than if I were to play on my own. I also began to finally understand the lingo used in Overwatch that felt like a different language to me for all these years. Because this was my first time playing a hero shooter, I had little to no game sense for what to do during matches. Picking duelists such as Star-Lord and Punisher made the game a little easier to understand, for their difficulty levels are pretty low, and their use case is straightforward. That being said, I ended up liking Star-Lord's moveset, and would end up playing him the most out of every character in the game. As of this video, he's the only character I have pushed to Lord status. Because I have the most playtime with Star-Lord, it's only fair that he would be the first character I draw from Marvel Rivals. Speaking of drawing, the artists at NetEase have gone for a more comic book inspired art style for the game's graphics, comprised of vibrant colors, heavy line art, and textured shading. On one hand, I admire the comic book approach, but there are times I feel the character details feel a bit much. I might just be saying that because of all the line art I had to draw for Star-Lord though. I am looking forward to some of the banger cosplays that will appear as a result of these new designs. For my illustration, I wanted to emphasize on the comic book aspect of the game's art style, and also have Peter Quill in the cool pose. As per usual, I drew 9 thumbnail sketches. Friends and followers had a chance to vote for their favorite sketch, and I chose the one with the most votes. The winning sketch ended up being number 4, where Star-Lord performs his ability Stellar Shift and points his blaster towards the viewer, with lens flares, for flair. I had an interesting experience with illustrating Star-Lord's pose. For the sake of ease and symmetry, I drew Peter's mask straight ahead towards the viewer. The drawback of drawing the mask like this, however, was that the pose almost became sterilized, and lost a bit of its energy. To resolve this, I began to think about how sometimes people tilt their head towards the weapon they're aiming with, to make it easier to hit their target. Once I turned Star-Lord slightly away from the camera, and tilted the neck towards the blaster, the pose's energy returned. Once I established all the details in my sketch, I knew a fair amount of line work was headed my way. Drawing the line art ended up being the most time-consuming phase of this illustration, but I wanted to make sure the lines were of detail and high quality. I also took inspiration from the line art style they use for the character renders, where they intentionally allowed the line to go past the subject, making the line art more expressive. This style takes me back to when I tried to be a product designer. When determining the weight of each of the lines I draw, I take into consideration what form the line is supposed to express, whether the light source is hitting that form directly or if it's in the shadows, and if that line is supposed to separate one subject from another. Some of the lines are also used to describe textures, like the sewn pattern in Peter's collar, or the strands of his hair. Once again, I used my gradient map shading technique to fully realize Star-Lord's form. Because I envisioned the setting of this piece to be on Clintar, I chose colors for the gradient map that gave off a more alien atmosphere. The colors are similar to the lighting we see every day, warm lights and cool shadows, but just slightly off hue. I ended up liking the gradient map colors enough that I prioritized them over the colors for Star-Lord's outfit. This is the alternate outfit you can unlock if you do enough of the Hero's Journey achievements in the game. Normally the shading folder is set to multiply, and the base colors are easily seen through the shading underneath. In this illustration, however, the shading folder is set to multiply, and the flats layer is set to overlay and is placed above the shading layer. Allowing the darker values of the gradient map to be emphasized also gave more room for the red on Star-Lord's lenses, blasters, and knee pads to pop. As mentioned earlier, the setting for this drawing is the symbiote planet Clintar. I looked at some of the art they have in the game for reference, and painted away. I applied the technique of having the background elements direct their line of action towards the main subject, with the intent of making the overall piece cohesive. One final element I wanted to add was the afterimage that Star-Lord causes when he performs his Stellar Shift ability. There were a few approaches I tried for this effect, but in the end I settled with having the line art highlighted yellow to fit the color palette of the artwork, despite the effect in the game being primarily blue. Once I finished adding the afterimage, I applied some finishing touches and a bit of halation to complete the piece. With that being said, here's the end result of my first drawing of the year. Who would have thought that it would be a video game related one? It was cool trying out a few different techniques and effects for this piece, so I'm always game for improving my art skills. Hopefully, my skills in-game will improve as well. Also, quick announcement, if you would like to see my art in person, or grab some prints, I'll be tabling in the Artist Alley of Katsucon. Katsucon will be open during Valentine's Day weekend at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center, and I hope to see you guys there. And that's all for this video. I hope you like the drawing and gameplay, and thank you for your time.